We were talking about subbing with an ever-changing set list.
Right. Hold up. So this is the Working Class Heroes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So welcome back.
Oh, okay. So, yes, we are recording.
We are
right now.
recording,
Okay.
yes. Okay.
All right. So yeah.
We have 3 topics that we're going to talk about today. So we have.
Okay.
Go ahead. What were they?
We were talking about an ever-changing set list and subbing for a band that has an ever-changing set list.
Yes. That's a good one.
Yes.
Ever change.
Vetting
New members into an old band.
Yes.
That's a good one too. And then we talked about new directions, where band members. So say you're playing in the band, and the band decides that it wants to go in a new direction.
Right.
How do you deal with that, or do you deal with that? Right.
Right. And like those two kind of like go together pretty well.
They
I
can
would say.
sometimes.
Well, I'm saying like the two topics. Yeah. Like,
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So where do you want to start with? Do you want to start with that one
Let's start with the first one.
Okay.
What do we say the first one was again?
The first one, because Rosati has like a memory of a goldfish right now.
Goldfish.
Right. It's the set list one when you're subbing for a
correct,
band.
Yeah. Well, it's subbing for multiple bands. So if you're going through, say you're subbing for multiple bands, right? Mm-hmm. And like you're say you're doing a weekend where you're playing with 3 different bands. I've done that already.
Oh yeah.
And you're moving between those 3 different bands, and all of a sudden everybody has different keys that they like to sing.
The same song in different keys.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
I've done that a few times. Actually, last week I played in 2 different bands that played the same song in completely different keys and different tunings.
There you go. See, that's just proof of it.
So, and that's not the only thing. So what about, have you been in a situation where everybody, so the big thing is drop tuning, right?
Yeah, I have been in situations like this before too, and like it's important you have to ask a lot of questions. At least like I found that you need to ask a lot of questions, especially if you want to show up to like the rehearsal, or if you're just not even doing a rehearsal, you're just going right to the gig. You want to show up making sure like you know what to do, because like nothing is worse than that first note when everything's it's just like you hear that terrible dissonance in there. You got to ask. Well, what I usually ask is like, all right, so what key are you playing it in?
Yeah.
And then you have to keep in mind if they're playing in a down tuning.
Yes.
If they are, it's like, okay, are you playing in the actual key that you're saying? Like, so you're saying, oh, we're playing in the key of D, but if they're playing in a drop tuning, is it D flat or is it D?
Well, I've had that too, where they'll call out the song in the original key, but they're all tuned down a half step.
Right.
And it's like, hey, we're doing it in E flat, but it's actually D because they're tuned down a half step, so it makes it a little bit makes it wonky, right?
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing, because I remember the first time I did that, I was like, oh, I'll just drop the E string down. It's like, oh, you're just dropping the key. And no, it's the whole thing. It's that Jimi Hendrix thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the whole song, the whole thing is just drop tuned.
Yep.
So it's E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and every song is in the original key.
Right. When you see the guitar player, if you're following like chord shapes, like let's say you don't know the song and like you're just kind of following the hand shapes of the guitar player, it's like, okay, like yeah, you see like a C, you see a D or whatnot. In reality, that's not a D. That's a D flat.
Yeah.
So those are things you need to like keep in mind about like position, and that's why it's like, I'm sure like you've given lessons about this before. It's like about being able to like play in different positions on the neck, and it'll help you be more fluent with the hand positions and what you're seeing and what you're doing.
I personally hate it though. I feel like it's cheating.
Well, it is cheating. It is cheating.
It's like, it's almost like the capo guys. The ones
Sure.
the ones are like,
Hold
oh,
on.
let me just adjust the capo because everything's in open tuning, right?
Yeah,
And
they play the same 4 chord shapes, but they just move the capo up and down the neck.
I hate those guys. I hate those guys. It's like just learn to play it in open and like a standard tuning.
Well, you know what bothers me more than that?
What?
Moving a song up. Moving a song up, for some reason, it just like the timbre just doesn't feel right on the strings. It just there's things that just don't resonate the same. Like if it's supposed to be hitting with like an open E, like, and now you're playing it in F, it doesn't feel right.
So I found that happens a lot, especially when females cover male keys.
Yes.
Being that we had Corinne as our vocalist originally.
You did it a lot?
Yeah, so almost every single song we had was in a different key because she didn't sing in the original keys.
Yeah.
So we had to change everything. So when we had Mike come in as our vocalist, he was back to the original keys and sometimes dropping. So it was like, nobody ever sang in the original keys for any song. It was just kind of moving back and forth. But it was always a little wonky, right?
Yeah.
And
So the most important thing is like if someone's going to sub for a band,
Yeah.
you got to ask what key it's in, and you got to ask like, are you playing in a drop tune? Is there like an issue between like the actual note itself or like the tuning? Like, the more questions you ask, the better you're going to be prepared showing up, especially as a sub. Like that's a tough role to fill, and we've done it before where like you'll sit there, you'll learn 40 songs for a band, and then you'll never play with that band again.
Yep.
And you'll probably never play maybe 20 of those songs ever again.
Yeah, but what I found is that you start to recognize the order, and a lot of times, like, you'll get the same song that appears, or at least what I've been calling it is like the matrix. So there's the matrix of the chord sequences, right?
Yep.
And then you have the form of the tune. So it's like, as long as you can recognize that, unless you play with guys, and this is one thing I did, is they did a medley of like 9 tunes together. Didn't tell me about it, changed the key, and it was like, okay, I knew all the songs, but I didn't know they were going to change the key for all of them to make them work.
Yeah.
And it was very strange. I mean, I picked it up about 8 bars in. I picked up that they were going to do that, but they're like, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you that.
Right.
So,
yeah, I would say like any kind of like medley type thing. And say if you're a sub, I would almost speak up. I would speak up and be like if you see something on the set list and like it does not, if there's not like a recording or like a chart or something that you can go off of and practice on your own, I would definitely raise a concern, bring it to the band leader and be like, is this something you really want to do? Because if this is something you really want to do, I need more materials to be able to practice with it. If you're not going to be able to provide that for me, I'm either A, going to need more money and time, or I'm sorry, I'm not doing this. Because it's going to make the whole band as a unit look bad.
Well, the flip side of that is if you can at least get your ear on par. So if your ear's on par and you can hear those changes and where things are happening, it's almost going to lock you into being that sub call every time.
Sure, yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to be the main guy.
But I'm talking about the medley situation.
Yeah,
the medley
well,
is...
Yeah, but if you can pull that off just by ear, you are the guy.
Oh yeah, I would call you the guy if you could pull off like a medley of 9 tunes, all in not the original keys, and just kind of like, all right, well, it's gonna blend into this or whatever like that.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Oh, you're the guy. You're
I'm the guy. I'm the guy.
Nice.
Figured it out.
Wow.
It was
no ego over there.
It was pretty easy. It was all C.
Oh, so it was like Elvis, yeah.
It was. It pretty much was. I was like, it wasn't that amazing, but it was definitely like 9 tunes. It was all in C. It was like, okay, I picked it all up. It's like,
it was 1 4 5 and then 1 5 4. Oh,
and
gotcha.
6 in there, and there was a couple others. I was like, yeah, they threw in a flat 7, instead of 5.
Nice,
so
nice.
It was okay though. But we worked through it. But sometimes, yeah, if you can pull that off, I think that's a big thing. So it's like, you're right. So understanding what you're walking into, it's the same thing as wearing the right clothing, is understanding, hey, are we drop tuning for this? And luckily, sometimes you'll have a singer or the guy who runs the band's like, hey, we do everything in drop tuning. And you're like, all right, as long as they're upfront about it. It's I did the Will Kiss gig once. I filled in with him, and he was like, didn't tell anybody, and then decided that he was going to play in drop tuning. And it was like, so everybody's like adjusting on the fly. It's like, okay. So being aware of that and sharing that information, I think, is a big thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there was something else I was going to mention about that, but I think that pretty much covers what we were talking about for subbing.
Yeah, but the more often that I think you're going to see that more often than not. I feel like I hit that a lot these days, especially with the guys that are doing like they're doing like the top 40-ish kind of stuff, right?
Sure. Oh, actually, that does remind me. The other thing I would mention is like a lot of times when like you get like the set list, for learning, you'll sit there and you'll hear like this really like weird, odd counted section of a song, or something that just doesn't really fit, and you sit there and you'll try to like measure it all out, thinking that the band itself is going to be doing it. Ask the question. Ask the question like, hey, do you guys do this section? Almost always you'll get a message back, just like what Rosario said. You'll get a message back, no, we don't touch that. Or like they'll skip it or they'll simplify it. And sometimes you can just walk right in on the gig and say, all right, well, they're just gonna like, instead of it's like this like weird 9.5 count, it's like they're just gonna make it 8. Done.
Yeah, just round it out.
Yeah.
Make it simple. I think that's the thing is, and most bands know when you're subbing, they're not gonna put in their arrangements that are normally like way over the top. They're going to try to simplify it, at least for the first gig. Maybe the second time or third time you sub, they'll start to put that in. Or if it's regular, if you're like you sub with them once every 3 years, I don't think it's always going to be new then.
Sure. And then like, if they're good and they're organized, they'll slowly introduce you to the things that they would like to see you do differently.
Yeah, because you might find yourself in a situation where you're subbing and then you become the regular.
Yep.
So
absolutely,
that's always a possibility. Yeah, that's normally I think how a lot of gigs you end up finding those gigs, and then sometimes you just sub once and it's done. You never know.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah, because I mean, somebody has a gig and they want to keep it. You know, sometimes they decide they want to move on. Speaking of moving on,
Yeah.
what about when we get an old band and
members.
new members? Yeah, you
Yeah.
get a new member in there.
You deal with this a lot, or more recently, you've dealt
Yeah.
with it more.
Yeah, actually, all of this comes from experience recently.
Yeah, and I know for myself, like when I was younger, like being in like metal bands and rock bands and stuff like that, like you're always like changing out members and this and that. People were coming and going, and I think it's a bit of like an element of just like does the person check all the boxes and are they willing to put the work in on it? So like this is something that you would probably be able to speak highly on.
Well, I think it comes down to the instrument too. I think when it depends on the member of the band that you're replacing. So a horn player is a horn player is my feeling on that. So we have a horn player in our band. So when we sub in one horn player, yeah, they're going to play differently. They're going to come to the tune a little bit differently, but they don't really affect the band in the same way that the drummer affects the band, right?
Yeah.
So, or affects me. So I feel like in a band where we're replacing a drummer, I feel like I have the most say because I'm joined to the drummer by the hip.
Yep.
You know, so as bass players, we all are. It's like, so if we're replacing the drummer, I want to be the person who makes the final decision of, hey, this drummer works or doesn't work. Because a lot of times you'll have other band members that go, hey, I have this friend, you know, we play with him in this side project. He doesn't really know how to have a pocket. He
Yeah.
doesn't really play fills. He doesn't know how to do that right. He plays fills everywhere. And then you're
feel,
the bass player.
feels
yeah.
off, yeah. And like same thing you can say with the guitar players too, where if the
Yeah.
tone's just like, and it's not to say that somebody else needs to like fill the box with like the old member, like it has to sound the exact same. They can still have like their fingerprint to it as long as like they're playing correctly, like they're playing the songs right, and the tone sounds good. It doesn't have to be the exact same as the previous person. It should just sound good though.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that. I was thinking about that this morning. This is like a tangent here.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I was thinking about notes. Like a lot of people play a lot of notes, right?
Yeah.
But if their tone is trash, it's like the
We talked about this
I know.
Friday at the golf course. Yeah.
yeah. It's like the tone is so much more important
Yeah.
than the notes themselves. Like if it's a quality sound. And I was thinking about this because I was doing a video shoot with Gary on Saturday, and I was thinking about that. Like it's more about the tone than it is about the variety of the notes that you're playing.
Oh yeah, if you can throw like a whole note out there and it sounds beautiful,
And just- yeah.
way better than like 100 notes of just like a weird mid,
Dissonance,
like,
weird
yeah,
noise,
weird
yeah.
mid sound.
And I think that all ties in because even that's effective across the band then because you get a band member that just has a great sound like drums. They have this great sound. It works everywhere. You get a guitar player that has a great sound. And they know their instruments. They know how to tune it. They know their sound. They bring it in. Even in bass players, if you get somebody to sub for you, and I know guys that try to find subs that aren't as good as them because they're worried they're going to be replaced, which is really funny. But would you really want to do that to your band?
Yeah.
It's like you don't want to have your band have a terrible sound and then you try to book that place again. So tone it, I think, in the end, it's like you want somebody that has a quality sound versus a lot of notes. And no matter
absolutely.
what. I mean, even the drummer doesn't have to be the busiest drummer. As long as they have a good pocket and it sounds good, that's the most important thing, I think, personally.
Absolutely, and I think that also plays back into like the new member type scenario too, where it's like, all right, like that person should have like they should master their instrument. They should be able to like bring that type of like sound quality to what they're doing, to where like I said, a whole note is gonna sound beautiful and big and like that. Yeah, that sounds really good.
And you gotta vet them too. I mean, when you just
Yeah,
bring
the
somebody
hang.
in, do they hang? Do they know the material? I mean, when somebody plays with me, it's always a test because I'm going to ask them about a million different bands and a million different things to see where they hang and what they can pull on.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I play with somebody, they only know like a handful of bands in a certain style. I'm probably not going to pick them. I'm probably going to be like, hey, you know what? Or at least if they're open to listening to new things and maybe discovering new music.
Yeah,
and
that's
they're
one thing. You
open
can
to
work with that.
Absolutely. It's like my first thing is like, do you know Go Go Penguin? Have you ever listened as a drummer? That's my first thing I throw at them. Hey, do you know Medeski Martin Wood? Have you ever heard this? Because I want to know that they can jam because playing the tune down is great. But there's those sections that you want to open up and you want to make sure somebody actually listens. And that's always a thing for me is I want anybody who joins a band with me, I want them to have some background of jazz in their lineage because that way they can hear and improvise. And there's something about the guys that don't improvise. I mean, I've had that problem with our vocalist right now. Corinne was open or at least step back and allow things to like build.
Yeah.
Mike was always like, okay, well, it's done. It's like, no, it's not done. There's, this could go on for another minute and let it build, let it develop. but he always wanted to cut it off because this is the form, this is where it ends. And that's a big thing for me when vetting a member is like, do they let it build? Do they understand how to use tension and stress to let the song build? Do they know where to place notes and where not to place notes? Because I feel like that's a big thing.
Sure,
So-
yeah, it's the listening element of it too. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, just as much as they can play, they should be able to listen.
They need to be fans, and that's, I feel like that with a lot of things. Like if you work with somebody in a certain field, and it's definitely like, you know, you want them to be a fan of what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
You want to have that. It's not just a job. And I've come across that even like with subbing with certain bands where it's like they don't like what they're doing, they don't like the music, especially like wedding bands. A lot of times you get
Sure.
the guys that they just do it for the paycheck, so they're not really enjoying it. They don't really like the music, so they're not really getting that creative sphere. They're just doing it to. It's like they're just turning a wrench.
Well, I mean that's what that type of like industry is when it comes to the wedding band. It's to the minute, and it's like you have a set time for like when the
Sequence.
band's
Yeah.
gonna be there, and like there is not like a moment of downtime because like you have your set, and then you are packing up and you're getting out of there.
It's like cocktail hour.
That's it. You know, like there's no like looseness to the whole thing. Like, hey, what do you guys want to play now? Like, no,
Yeah.
it's not that. It's like, okay, we have the set list built. We are doing all this stuff, and like you just go bang, 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 and that makes a lot of people jaded to like what they're playing and what they're doing.
Well, the bride one's living on a prayer. You're doing living on a prayer.
Yeah. So that kind of like, it's talking about like new members and bands and stuff like
Yep.
that. I've auditioned with bands before, and going into that, like it can be a little intimidating.
Sure.
And like, you know, you want to try and you know, be as good as you possibly can, like, you know, check as many boxes for the people, you know, and I'm sure what they're looking for is someone who wants to put that kind of effort in as well. Like, so if you show up, or if somebody shows up to your rehearsal, because now we're kind of looking at it from the other perspective,
Yeah,
like a new member coming
correct.
into your band.
Yep.
So I'm just coming from like if I was
Being the
auditioning,
member.
so like if you are the member and someone's coming in, you're looking for those same types of qualities. Like, hey, I would do the exact same thing. I would ask all those questions.
Yeah.
If they're asking all the right questions, and they're putting in the effort to where it's like, hey, they got that lick in that song that happens at this one time, especially if you're doing like a tribute type
Yeah,
scenario.
yep.
They did that lick. That's really important.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That means they were listening.
Yep.
That's awesome. They did their homework. So like those are all like ticks in the winning column.
Yeah, of course. It's a green flag versus a red flag. Yeah, there's always those differences, right?
Yeah.
The green flags versus the red flags.
Absolutely, man.
So we covered the band. We
Okay.
talked about set list,
Yep.
changing of keys, changing of tunings. We
Yep.
covered new member in the band and adjusting. The last thing we want to talk about is the change of the direction of the band. So for instance, you're in a band and for some reason they decide, hey, you know, you're doing all this stuff, and then they
Go in a
decide
different
that they
direction.
want to change the direction. So and that does happen periodically, is that you'll be in a band and then they'll decide, you know what, we're a rock band, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know, this country thing is doing way better. Why don't we do more country? And all of a sudden you have somebody who wants to change the direction of the music in a completely different avenue. So for instance, you might have been doing the same thing, similar genre for years, and then all of a sudden two members go, we're going to do a lot of country. And you're like, okay, do I want to continue with this? Do I want to go down that road? Do we
Right.
follow it? It's like all of a sudden you're doing salsa, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think you know, it all depends on what you got into it for. So if you went into it just to kind of make like, we're gonna be a bar band, we're gonna play some covers, we're gonna have a good time on the weekends.
Yeah.
You know, if you got into it for doing that, and you could pretty much pull from whatever catalog you want at that point. You want to keep yourself kind of like a hodgepodge or a potpourri of different genres like that. But I mean, for the most part, most bands have like a direction or like something that they're doing. For myself, like I know I do like a lot of classics like 70s, 80s, 90s with my cover band. You know, that you've filled in before,
Yep.
and like we're rock. We do rock songs.
Well, that's
Okay,
what-
so like if like all of a sudden Scott, like the singer like, and guitar player, came around and said, like, you know what, guys, all I want to do is gonna be like a country, or I want to do nothing but like, I don't know, like soul tunes.
Yeah.
It would change the entire feel and dynamic of the band, and everybody would need to be on board in order for any of it to ever work. But like, I can't imagine you getting everyone's mind to go in the same direction.
It also changes who you're selling the product to as well.
Sure.
Because if you have, especially if you already have established gigs or established places you play at, and then you've changed the menu to something that doesn't fit at that venue,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. You
Yeah.
know? So I think that, do I think that it's a good idea to completely change the direction of a band? I think you're right. Hodgepodge is fine. If there's a couple tunes you throw in that you make similar to the other songs that you're playing, it's
Yep.
like, okay, it's like the Chris Stapleton thing. That can easily, it's pretty rocky. It's,
Yeah.
you know, you can make that kind of work, and it works pretty well. It'll fit in with John Mayer. It'll fit in with like the Stones. It'll fit in with that. But as soon as you start going into like Wagon Wheel,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, well, this isn't gonna really fit here. It's like, and who's gonna play the banjo? You know,
Yeah.
oh, we need a slide guitar now. Does anybody?
Yeah, if you want to get all those sounds to really kind of make it feel authentic, there's a lot of things that are missing in that sound, and like you're right, like where the songs end up always morphing into whatever genre it is that you're most comfortable with,
Yeah.
and like that's, you know, if you're playing rock music, you know, picking up a country song, even though a lot of country is basically rock now with like a little twang to
Yeah.
it, like it's, you know, it's still going to be a rock.
Yeah,
It's still going to be
yeah.
rock.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like that's why I said Stapleton, because Stapleton,
Mm-hmm.
you could almost replace you could replace Chris Stapleton with John Mayer, and it would almost sound the same.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things that cross over that are very similar. You're like,
Or
okay, this
even
would work.
more recently, I went and I saw Jordan Davis perform over at in Music Fest.
Okay.
And you know, like, he's considered a country artist. I didn't hear a single country song that night.
Yeah.
Everything was rock. He even did a rock medley of songs. It was like a mixtape, and it was all songs that we grew up listening to. I'm like, okay, like Matchbox 20 and
Okay.
things like. So he acknowledges like, yeah, I'm a rock guy. I'm a
it's-
rock guy.
Yeah, so you're getting a lot of blurring of the lines there too.
So like, yeah, going back to like the genre switching of like a band and whatnot, I couldn't see getting everybody on the same page. So you're going to get like a lot of like headbutting or a lot of like just like stubbornness coming from different people. Like, oh well, I don't really like the way this works. I don't really like that sound, or I don't like that song.
And I
don't
think
know.
sometimes the band does it to get a member to stay. It's almost like like the girlfriend. Oh, you know, I'm gonna change for you. We'll change.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change this. And then what happens is you try changing it, doesn't work, and they leave anyway, or something
Yeah,
falls
be
apart.
true to who you are.
Yeah, understand. You know, maybe if there's if a band has a stylistic fingerprint, why change it? You know, start a new band.
Well,
Change the
actually,
whole thing.
that was the point I was about to bring up. It's a good point, because I've known bands that took different formations of themselves. Maybe they swap out a member and they form a second group where they can scratch that itch
Yeah.
of like, we want to also do country music now. Okay, so like you could do the rock band, and then you could also get the country gig at like different venues and whatnot, doing like, you know, just those sets. So like you can do all those things. There's no rule saying that you can't be in multiple bands, you know, or
True.
form different groups with similar members. There was a lot of that going
Right.
around in like our area for a while.
It is. I think sometimes though that also does breed contempt inside the bands too, because if that other band starts working more, and you're competing now for gigs because the other members are doing that, that can also be a problem that you need to address.
And then you have to ask, well, why weren't you part of that then?
Yeah.
Did you not want to do that genre?
And that's a possibility.
And if that's the case, then like that, just be true to who you are. And it's like, yeah, you didn't feel like you wanted to do that.
And I think you just need open dialogue too, no matter
Yeah.
what. It's just like any relationship that you have, whether you know it's a family or a band, which is kind of an extension of a family.
Oh, sure. And with
It's
a
like-
band, it's like, you know, you're not just dating one person, you're dating like 4 other people.
Trying to get everybody's schedules to organize to either get a rehersal or
Yeah.
play a gig is like a nightmare, right?
Yeah. You try to just scheduling it with one person, you're doing it with 4 others. That is a tough thing to do.
With families and work, and it becomes a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
And then so doing that with 3 different bands can become even more
Yeah,
complicated.
now you're dealing with like 12 other people sometimes.
Yep. So I think that's an open-ended question. I mean, where do you go with that? I think
Mm-hmm.
at this point it's like try to find the band. Try to stay true to the style
Yeah.
if you can. If it does evolve, and sometimes bands do evolve, but they evolve in a certain direction. They don't just go and hang like a hard left, you know, or a hard right. It's like, oh, well, we're playing this now.
Yeah.
Or now
Now
we're
we
all
only
salsa.
do 80s Joel.
Yeah, and that's just something that you need to be aware of. But I think these are some good topics. I mean, if you guys have questions, or if you have an experience that you've gone through with something like this, which I'm sure you have,
Yeah.
it's if you want to share that with us, you know, it's the Working Class Zeros @gmail.com if you want to send us your story or stay in touch with us. We did omit a section of the Working Class Heroes that we've been doing for a while, and that is, sure, it's awesome, but is it necessary?
Right.
And I think we've kind of crossed that bridge with that because we did the anagram. We did a review of the anagram, and I know we have some other products that are going to be coming our way.
Yes.
And so we're going to do some more reviews of products that are going to focus on the product versus just this kind of dialogue here, and see how it works out, see where it functions. And
yeah, I would say even if like you have like a product in mind that you would like to see a review on, that'd be something that we could look into.
Absolutely. So let us know. Again, Working Class Heroes, the Working Class Heroes @gmail.com. And we'd like to thank Bass Musician once again for hosting us.
Yes,
and
thank
for being a big part of the Working Class Heroes, because the Working Class Heroes is not just us, it's you guys out there too, because you're out there doing the grind, making it happen, right?
You're out there gigging too.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'm Steve.
I'm Sean.
And we'll catch you on the next Working Class Heroes.
Take care.